Congratulations! If you're watching this video, that means that you're ready to start turning in your work for English 310 online. The first thing that you should do after you've logged on to our class on Blackboard is go to the Assignments section of Blackboard. You want to go into the Assignments section because that's where you will actually turn in all of your work to be graded. Once you're into Assignments, pick the unit that you're turning in the work for. Notice that the current unit is in black font. Future units will be in blue, and eventually when we have past units they will be in gray. Go into the unit and decide what assignment you want to turn in. Are you going to turn in your participation self-evaluation, one of your paper process checklists, or your personal exemplar essay? For today, let's start with the participation self-evaluation. Once you get to this screen, you're going to want to look for the assignment files, specifically the checklist or rubric. At that point, you're going to want to click on that file so that you can download it. Now, before we go on, some of you might be thinking, I don't need to download this file. I downloaded it at the beginning of the unit from course documents. The problem with using your old file is that it doesn't reflect some of the changes we made over the course of the unit. For example, originally we thought that we would do 2 activities, one each for coherence and specificity, but ultimately we ended up combining them on the discussion board. The file in the assignment folder has already been edited to reflect those changes, and so by using it you'll be saving yourself a little bit of time. The first thing you want to do when you have the file open up in your word processing program is to make sure that you type your name at the top and then save a copy of the file. Please make sure you change the name of the file to reflect your name, so that when you submit these, it'll be easy for your instructor to know whose file is whose. So something that has your name in it, and you might want to have Unit 1 in there so that you recognize it. It doesn't have to be exactly in that order. After you've saved it, please take the time to read through the instructions and the rubric very thoughtfully. The way this participation self-evaluation guide is set up is you will go through and score yourself for each of the areas of the discussion board that you were supposed to post to. I actually have it set up so that 5 points is full credit. Let's look at what full credit means. It means my posts are thoughtful and supported with examples, quotes, or details. My posts add to the conversation, building on or responding to what others have said. My writing is clear and my tone respectful. I posted on time and, if appropriate, return to respond to others' posts. That's what full credit looks like. Now, it's possible to get extra credit. If your posts are lively, engaging, if you're having fun with other people and interacting with them in a conversational manner, if you're responding to people quite frequently, that would be worthy of some extra credit. It's also possible to get partial credit. Quite frequently, partial credit results because perhaps your post is general or vague. You didn't give specifics. Your post might be repetitive. If you failed to read what other people had already posted and you say the same thing that they've already said, that means you weren't really listening earlier in the conversation. That's worth partial credit. Perhaps if your post is confusing, it lacks detail. You can also lose some points for posting after the deadline. And realize that these categories aren't hard and fast. If you do a very thoughtful post with good details and you're very respectful, but you posted after the deadline, you wouldn't give yourself 1 point, you wouldn't give yourself 5 points, you would go somewhere in between, perhaps 3 or 4 points. Go through and thoughtfully consider what you deserve for each of these areas. Perhaps for the introduction of yourself you posted and you actually went back and you talked to a lot of other people and commented on their posts, so you want to give yourself some extra credit. The revision to a classmate's paper doesn't really require going back and continuing the conversation, so you just gave them feedback once. Good feedback, but just once, so that deserves full credit. Perhaps when you were applying the rubric to the sample essay, you were sort of shallow, you were a little rushed. You forgot to actually give both parts of the answer for that prompt, so you give yourself partial credit. Obviously, if you did not post to a required topic, you would give yourself a 0. Please also consider things like the quality of the revision feedback you were giving. If you didn't actually give them a lot of suggestions, you just corrected their grammar, you would want to adjust your score. If for some reason you were late, you would want to adjust your score. Or if the topic did call for a discussion, not just a post your opinion and then you don't have to come back, and instead you just posted your opinion and ended up being repetitive or ended up not fitting into the context of the discussion, then you would also adjust your score. At the end, you would add up everything that you've gotten and type it right here. Please notice that it's okay if you're not having a good day sometimes when you post. There are 55 points possible, but it's only getting scored out of 50. So it's possible to miss a post or get partial credit on some posts and still get full credit. For example, in this imaginary scenario, the person would get 42 out of 50, which is about a B. Finally, at the bottom, there is a personal reflection question that's worth an additional 5 points that I would ask that you take the time to reflect on how things are going and let me know what we can be doing in this class and what your plans are for the next unit. After you've gone ahead and typed out your answer, and yes, I do expect it to keep going on to the next page, so don't try to fit it into this little area there. Go ahead and hit save so that it's ready to go, and then it's time to return to Blackboard and upload your file. Alright, now that you're back in Blackboard, you're going to scroll down to the part that says Assignment Materials Submission. Now, for this particular assignment, we're not going to use this box at all. For the purposes of our class, you're going to go down here to where it says Attach File. You'll browse for your file wherever you happen to have it located, and then you're going to attach it. There's also room down here for comments. We're not going to worry about that. You're just going to come right down here and hit submit. Depending on how long it takes you on your internet connection will depend on how long it takes to upload. Now, let's say that after you have submitted your assignment, you realize you've made a mistake. Oh no, I didn't add my score correctly. I realized that I should have had 43 points instead of 42. What you can do is you can start a new submission. You can go through the process again. Go into the file, open it up, make the corrections that you need to make, and essentially go through it again. When it comes time for me to grade things, I will grade the most recent submission. So if you've got old submissions, I'm going to assume that you had a mistake happen with them and you want me to grade the most recent submission. So as you can see here, I have attempt 1, attempt 2. I'm always going to grade the most recent one. That allows you to make corrections again if you realize it after the fact. Please realize that the unit assignments will not be accepted late. So you can do several attempts at submitting, but only up until the deadline. After the deadline is passed, then what's turned in is turned in. We're all done. So we just went through how to turn in your participation self-evaluation for English 310. We're going to have a separate video to explain how to turn in your papers with your process checklist. I suggest that you watch that next. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to go to the discussion board, go to the questions about class or assignments, and post a question so that both you and all your classmates will get to hear the answer for it. You also have the option of emailing me or giving me a phone call. I look forward to seeing your work, and don't forget to go on to the next video.